Hello? in via the. Hello. Hello.
Hi, I can hear you now.
Hi, hi, hi.
Hello?
Hello. This is Alex.
Hey, Alex. This is Mike Yuki.
Hey, Mike.
Hey, Alex, how do I pronounce your last name?
It's Pajusi.
Yuki. Very good. Okay. We will get started here in just a couple of minutes.
Okay. Roughly. Yeah, I think so. Q&A. Mm-hmm. I'm ready, guys.
Excellent. Well, let's go ahead and get started then. All right, and you are able to display and get your presentation?
Yeah, I guess, what do I just click desktop to, yeah, share my desktop. Okay, so yeah, I have a few slides to aid my spiel.
Perfect.
Just remind me
All right,
how long you want me to speak for?
Well, you have about 45 minutes, and then we can take questions after.
Okay. Okay.
And then I'll read the questions off, but we'll go from there.
Okay, great.
Excellent. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. I want to welcome everyone to the ELGL Efficiency Webinar. Each month, ELGL and our partners at the Urban Management Assistance of North Texas will highlight a new tool that will make your life easier and your work more efficient. My name is Mike Eakey, and I'm the Communications Director for the City of Raymore, Missouri, and it's my pleasure to moderate today's session. ELGL is a Big Tent government organization. We work to connect, communicate, and educate our members on a variety of local government topics, and today is no exception. Today we're going to be exploring EPermitting with Viewpoint Government Solutions. Today we're excited to have Chief Technology Officer Alex Pujasi. Alex is a formerly trained technologist with specialty in design thinking. His research and design over several years led to the development of ViewPointCloud and the proliferation of nimble permit management for cities of all sizes. He holds a degree from McGill University in Montreal. Now, before we begin, I want to let you all know that your microphones and conference phones are muted. This makes the webinar more enjoyable and efficient for everyone. After the presentation is finished, we'll open it up for questions. These can be submitted by using the chat box on the left-hand side of the screen. Feel free to input your questions at any time. I'd also like to thank Strategic Government Resources for their partnership, which has given us the ability to record our webinars so you can watch them later and share with your colleagues. We'll also be live tweeting today's webinar. Follow along online with the hashtag ELGLTech and be sure to use our Twitter handles for today's participants. So with that, I'm excited to hand it over to Alex.
Thanks, Mike. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have a few things to share with you all today. All right, looks like it's taken 1 second to show up here. While that's taken a moment to display my screen, just want to thank everyone for being here today. We're excited to talk about EPermitting. It's a topic that we're certainly very passionate about here at Viewpoint because we think it's one of the most it's sort of one of the low-hanging fruit that you can pick in order to gain efficiency in local government today. It's one of those things that's still very manual and paper-based, but there are some great new tools out there these days that make different pieces of that process increasingly more efficient thanks to their use of modern technologies. So what I want to talk about today is a few things. I want to start with an overview of cloud and cloud technologies as they relate to government, because some of you may be unfamiliar with everything that's out there today, and GovTech continues to be a very exciting and hot topic these days. Then I'll talk a little bit about why EPermitting and the state of EPermitting today, and see how increasing numbers of government agencies are using EPermitting as a way to gain efficiency. Then I'll show a little bit about what the best practices are to look at when considering EPermitting, and some of the features that you're surely going to want to investigate as you go down that journey. We'll finish up with looking at some innovative models of technology adoption at the city and state level. We're seeing some very innovative ways of structuring private-public partnerships to bring technology to greater regions and make it accessible beyond an individual municipality. And then we'll look at sort of the future trends and things to look forward to, the most exciting things that I see coming up in the world of e-government. So looks like I'm almost ready to share my screen here, and I will go ahead and get started with that. Again, I apologize for this brief delay. Just bear with me 1 second here. Okay. So in a second, you should see my screen. And okay, yep. Great. So this is the agenda items that I just outlined. We have a great couple of topics to talk about as it relates to e-government and e-permitting specifically. So I'll start off just with a conversation about GovTech and some of the things that make up good government technology. When looking at good government technology, I think there are a few things to consider to make sure that the tool you choose is really going to serve you well in the long term. You want to make sure that it uses a secure cloud platform, and so for those of you who aren't familiar with the cloud, this is really an established trend at this point in government technology, where you might have in the past had software that you installed on a server in your government agency, and you had a desktop application that you would use to access those services. Modern technology today is overwhelmingly delivered in the web browser in the form of cloud applications. What that means is that the underlying technology is powered in nationwide data centers around the country, and it's delivering that application to each individual user right in the web browser. So that means you can access it from anywhere. You don't have to be in one particular place like in your office to access that application or the data. It means more and more people can have access to it, so you don't have the silos that you might have had in the past where certain departments could access software and certain departments couldn't, even if they wanted to. It also means higher resiliency. So it means that if, for example, one server happens to have a problem, you're not going to lose access to your data or your environment. There's a nationwide network of data centers that power this. So if one server goes down, you got maybe hundreds more that are going to pick up the slack. So it's great for availability. It's also great for security. There are firewalls and secure safeguards in place to make sure that unauthorized data access is not possible. And for example, Microsoft is the cloud partner that we work with, and Microsoft invests hundreds of millions of dollars in their cloud infrastructure to make sure that it's secure, widely available, and works well for their users. And then, of course, it's much easier to maintain. So if you have software that's delivered in the web browser, there's no underlying architecture that your municipal IT staff has to worry about managing. So it's really a great way to deploy software in a very rapid and user-friendly way. And that's why we and many other modern government technology providers are now choosing to deliver software in the cloud. One of the other important points to make sure is to ensure that that application uses modern web technologies. We're built on modern web technologies like HTML5 and CSS3 and JavaScript. And what that allows us to do is deliver a great experience, not just in the web browser, making use of all the best tools that are available today to make sure that that application is fast and reliable. But it also means that it opens up the door for things like native mobile apps on your iPhone or your Android device. So, just like in the private sector, you're seeing a proliferation of different ways to access your applications, whether it's on a mobile device or on your computer. Using those same web technologies in government can give you the same benefits. Now, looking specifically to government technology on the government side of things, one sticking point that's historically been a difficulty, especially in the realm of e-permitting, is a clear implementation. You're going to want to make sure that both on the vendor side and at the agency side, that you have a clear understanding of what's going to be delivered. You need to be able to identify the pain points in your organization today and understand how that software is going to help you improve the way you do business. Having internal knowledge, especially if there are internal champions behind the project, it really increases the chance of success. And if the software is clear and if the implementation is clear and there's a driving force behind that project, you're guaranteed to succeed in that initiative. When it comes to implementation, we find that you want to have software that supports an incremental approach to technology adoption. When you try to deliver
hey, Alex, I hate to interrupt you, but I think we may have lost your screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, let's see. Had you seen it up until this point?
Yes, we had.
Oh, okay, so it just dropped out. Let me see about that. Okay. Should be back up now.
Yep, we got your screen now. Looks good.
Okay, great. So the last point as it relates to good government technology is to find software that supports working at the speed that you're comfortable with. It's never a good idea to try and deploy an entire application organization-wide if you don't, have the full buy-in or internal resources of every single department simultaneously. Often it's easier to find those departments that are the most in need of new technology, start with an initial success story, and then build that incrementally into a larger and larger success story. We find that approach is a lot more successful than trying to take a top-down, sort of biting off more than you can chew. So modern cloud software will support that ability to work at the speed at which you're comfortable, and we think that's really important. So EPermitting specifically, I want to take a look at EPermitting because it's been a really interesting journey over the last few years as we've, at the same time that we have really released new and better ways to handle EPermitting. This is a survey that was done nationwide by Plan Edison in 2015 and 2017 as to the EPermitting adoption rates in municipal government. What they found in 2015 was that 21% of municipal governments offered online permitting and 79% did not. What they found when they redid the survey in 2017 was that 35% did offer online permitting and 65% still did not. What we saw was a huge increase, almost double, in the number of municipalities that were offering online permitting. So clearly there's a nationwide trend happening here that more and more governments are finding that it's a good idea to put their permitting online. So we'll get into the reasons as to why that is in a few minutes, but I think it's great to see that cities, both large and small, are adopting EPermitting technology. And actually the largest gains here came from small and medium-sized municipalities. This is an interesting point because there's often been there have been established options available to the largest municipalities who are willing to spend tens of millions of dollars on software. The challenge has been meeting the needs of sort of all the other municipalities that need a solution to handle their scale of EPermitting as well. So what we're seeing is a large proliferation in the ability of EPermitting apps to handle all kinds of cases from small to large. And I think now we're finding that especially on our side, at ViewPoint, we try to make permitting technology available to municipalities of every size, from the smallest to the largest communities. And we're happy to have customers that range from 2,000 in population to 1 million in population. So that's pretty a great spread, and I think we're very proud of that. So it's great to see this large-scale adoption of EPermitting, especially in small and medium-sized communities. So let's take a look at specifically what EPermitting is and why you should care about it as it relates to increasing efficiency in municipal government. At ViewPoint, we try to make government services easy for everybody, and this relates to every aspect of municipal and statewide government, from parking permits to dog licenses to public safety, construction, business, and entertainment. Really, government services touch people's lives in all sorts of different ways. And so it's important to have technology that can serve each of those aspects and meet the needs of each of those types of services. Traditionally, you might see the stereotype that government services are not friendly, not public friendly, and they're not a good experience for customers. And what's really driven that case has been the technology behind the counter. Sometimes it looks sort of like this. This is a screenshot of an application that's in use in a state-level agency today. And you can see how this kind of software doesn't really support a comprehensive, efficient user experience for the customer or for the employee who has to use it. So we thought, what if we could build friendly, modern software for online government services? And that's what the driving force behind ViewPointCloud. And ViewPointCloud is a comprehensive online e-permitting system. So what e-permitting really is it allows you to take that application form that might be sitting on your counter and turn it into a digital form that can be submitted on a mobile device or on a computer from anywhere. So, if you're looking at this example of a building permit, if you were renovating your kitchen and you needed to apply for a permit, you could fill out the form online as a customer. You could pay for that permit online. And paying, that alleviates another step of the process where you might have had to come into City Hall. And then you can actually track the status of that application from start to finish. So as the customer, you're now getting an experience where instead of having to come into City Hall, possibly wait in line, fill out a piece of paper and write a check for a permit fee, you're now able to handle that entire process without leaving your couch. So that's great for the citizen. It's also great for the city employees who now are able to focus on what's really important, which is making sure that processes are complied with and helping those who need additional help and letting those who are comfortable serving themselves have their own self-service. And so this is the permit tracking page where employees involved in the issuance process and the citizen who applied are all on a common ground as to what's happening here. That visibility also helps to drive down the number of service calls that someone might make to the permit counter to see what's the status of my application. When things are clear, the burden to communicate with the applicant goes down significantly. But also having this workflow here, step by step, one of the challenges, aside from the applicant experience, is having structure around what your workflow is. When everybody's on the same page like this internally, it also drastically decreases the coordination time necessary to manage each permit. So having a digital workflow like this is absolutely crucial. So any EPermitting system should be able to handle your workflows. What we also try to focus on is maintaining a good customer experience from start to finish. So what we did was we built in this great commenting system, and commenting is such a popular paradigm around the web today with web applications. So we have this great ability to let you comment on the permit's review status and ask questions and communicate back and forth between the applicant and the reviewers. So we see conversations that happen like this, just checking in to see when you think our permit will be available, and then a municipal reviewer might comment back, "Hi Alex, your application is being reviewed today. You'll be able to print your permit once it's approved." So again, we're taking another step out of the potential visits to town hall. You'll be able to print your permit from home. Thanks for making this a very simple process. So you see how that level of communication that you might have had when people are walking into the counter doesn't need to be lost once you go digital. We can still have that great friendly conversation between people, but in a much easier way that's less resource intensive on municipal resources. So, EPermitting can create a great citizen experience. It can create a great experience for city employees, but when it comes down to it, one of the really important things about EPermitting is driving efficiency. So we did a study that looked at one county level government and their processing times for a commercial and a residential building permit. Doing it the old-fashioned way, they took almost 60 days to issue a commercial building permit and 24 days to issue a residential building permit. When we took the study again with ViewPointCloud, we saw that the processing times decreased to 8 days for a commercial permit and 5 days for a residential permit. So there's a ton of reasons why why this might be the case. But largely, being able to structure a process and really streamline it in the way that you just saw removes all of those coordination delays involved with the permitting process and lets things move so much smoother and so much more quickly. So aside from providing a great experience, it's also a great efficiency boost to the communities we work with. So the takeaway here is that with EPermitting, you could potentially run up to 5 times faster, which is an incredible resource gain. But aside from running faster, we also put a big focus on design. One of the big things you're seeing these days in the realm of EPermitting is a service portal. Public service portals are huge these days, and so it's no longer really good enough to present the user with just a login page and say, here, log in and get your permit. You really want to educate the customer as to what permits they need and why. again, this helps not just provide a great user experience, but it also helps you deal with more informed and more educated customers on a daily basis. So this is our storefront, and it's the front page of ViewPointCloud from the aspect of citizens. We've tried to make it look just like the storefronts and the social media and the support pages that they might visit in the private sector, and they get that same great experience from their municipal government now too. And what we saw was that cities and towns and states around the country loved making storefronts to provide a great user experience to their applicants. We're seeing some cities do some incredible things, building out new pages to teach potential customers about the regulations involved in the permitting process, why they might need a permit, and what requirements they might need to submit. So having a great front end for your citizens helps smooth the process from the beginning to make sure that applicants have the right information and make sure that they submit correctly the first time. So we've seen, as I've said, a lot of governments have recently done e-permitting. We've seen a lot of customers join us in the past few months. We recently introduced our 100th customer to the platform, and since then it's been even more. And this isn't just limited to one geographic area. We're seeing activity all over the country, from small to large communities. People are interested in bringing their permitting process online. And so I want to touch a little bit on a special project that we're working on here. I think it's beyond the scope of our company specifically. It's a really special case for statewide and regional partnerships in general, and that's at the state of Rhode Island. We're doing an incredible statewide e-permitting partnership with Rhode Island, the first of its kind in the country. And so the state of Rhode Island has decided that in order to maximize efficiency with e-permitting, they have selected a single e-permitting platform to power permitting and licensing for every community in Rhode Island, as well as several state agencies. And that platform is ViewPoint, of course. So we were flexible enough to allow the simplest permit in the smallest community up to a very complex project in a large state agency. And what it's done is, it's proved that, when communities can work together to procure software like this, they can reap benefits beyond each individual community. So we're now seeing powerful network effects take place because everybody's on a common shared platform. In the past year, we've worked to get the pilot program up and running. So 10 cities and towns and 3 state agencies are now on the platform successfully. And over the next year, we'll work to bring on two or so dozen others onto the platform until we have full participation across the state. So there's a few reasons why this is really exciting. First of all, from a cost perspective, we have been able to work with the state to develop a single cost template to provide a really a great deal to every individual city and town in Rhode Island. So from a cost perspective, some towns and cities are seeing double-digit decreases in their maintenance that they used to pay their legacy vendor with a new modern system like this. It also helped the state get onto a single building permit and trade permit template. So they worked with us to develop a single template for building, electrical, plumbing, gas, and so on. And now all the cities and towns, in a collaborative process, developed that template, and now they're all using a common platform. So the result for the customer is that in any city or town in Rhode Island where they do business, they can log in with a common user ID to a very similar looking platform, a very uniform experience, fill out the same form no matter which city or town they're working in, and have a really fluid and uniform process throughout. It's really helped to achieve the governor's mission with this project, which is to make Rhode Island a more business-friendly state. So we're really seeing that is the impact of this initiative. I'll just dive into the platform really quick. You can see that we have a homepage here set up for the EPermitting project, and you can see all the different cities, towns, and state agencies who are on it. So this is a great example to show how you might enable a regional partnership with EPermitting, which is really where we think the network benefits start to come into play. And on this statewide portal, you can also read more about EPermitting, there's an FAQ section, there are videos. So it's a great way to, to connect all of these individual participants in a very uniform way. So I just want to speak a little bit in closing about future trends that we see in e-government, because this has been, for us, e-permitting is a constantly shifting initiative. We try to take the greatest technologies and make use of them in a permitting context. So a few of the trends that I see coming up in the next few months are the ability to share and compare best practices. This comes back down to the network effect, where if multiple communities in a state or across the country are using a single platform, you can use their shared experience to learn from each other. So when we say share and compare best practices, it could take a few different forms. For example, you might be able to have a template community where you can share if you have a particular permit or workflow that works really well in your community, you could share it with your neighboring communities, let them download that and try it out. Perhaps a solar panel permit that you find really works well. But it also, in terms of comparing, imagine that you could compare your municipal performance against the performance of similarly sized communities in a similar permitting context to see who's making the best use of resources and learn from each other's best practices. So those comparative analytics, as well as sharing those system configurations, are really going to play a big part in where e-permitting goes next. We're hoping to see that we can see a reversion to the mean, so to speak, on e-permitting performance and let everybody learn from each other's best practices. Another one I want to touch on is project-oriented services. So what we're seeing today is that e-permitting is taking the shape of citizens being able to apply for a building permit or a liquor license or a food service license. But what we're seeing more and more, especially in the cities that are leading this business portal paradigm, like LA and Santa Barbara, they're developing portals that are centered around specific themes, like opening a restaurant or opening a food truck, which encompass all of the different kinds of permits and licenses that you might need for that particular project. So instead of having to know that you need these 5 licenses to do the type of business that you want to open, it's creating a smart project for you on the fly based on a few simple questions. So that project-oriented service goes a long way to helping, again, make sure that applicants are compliant with all the right processes from the start, and it removes a lot of the coordination delay. Third one might surprise some of you that I put here is EPlan review. And so you might think that EPlan review has been around for a little while, and it certainly has. But we see with the recent proliferation of large screen hardware, like the Microsoft Surface Studio, which is basically a digital drafting table, we're really seeing for the first time that the right tools are becoming available to do really comprehensive EPlan review in any municipality. One of the challenges with EPlan review has always been that you need a high-resolution screen that's the same size as a large format paper building plan. And that can be a challenge for a lot of municipalities. But with the new hardware that's coming to market, as well as some great new tools like Adobe Acrobat Cloud and Bluebeam Review, we're seeing a lot more comprehensive and better ways to do EPlan review in a municipal office. And the last one is business intelligence. So aside from the comparative analytics I talked about, where you're comparing against different municipalities, business intelligence internally is going to play a big part in the next year, I think, as communities use better software to handle permitting, like ViewPointCloud, where you're tracking your performance in your permitting processes on a daily basis. Business intelligence is going to allow trend discovery, so to enable discovery of trends that you might not have even noticed yourself, but new reporting and new trend analysis can reveal when something looks off, when there's an anomaly detected. So if someone didn't renew their license after 10 years or something like that. Tons of cases where you might have something slip through the cracks with a manual process, but if you have software that backs it up and is able to detect when things don't look right, you can get a much more powerful municipality out of that. So we look forward to sharing with you more about those things in the coming year. Definitely keep an eye on us on social media and visit our website at ViewPointCloud.com. Those were the broad themes that I wanted to talk about. How am I doing on time? Because at this point, we could open it up to some questions, if that's okay.
Sure, we've got a couple of questions. First one is from Kim in Reno. Is ViewPointCloud more back-end and front-end customer-friendly than Excella's online building permits?
Well, I don't want to speak, too specifically about, a comparison between us and one other particular vendor, but I will say that when it comes to good government technology, we didn't look at, what does Excella look like, or what does some other system look like, and let's try and copy that. We really re-envisioned online permitting from the ground up with ViewPointCloud, and so what we've tried to do, and I'll just log into a live environment here so I can show you as I speak. We tried to build a new modern permitting system that looked more like the private sector tools that are in use today, because what we saw was that because of the industry makeup of EPermitting at the time, you had a gap between the tools that were available for the public sector and the tools that were available in the private sector. Private sector companies got great software to manage customer service and task management, and for government, for some reason, there wasn't as much innovation. So with ViewPointCloud, we really tried to change that paradigm. And so we built this great, online tool from the ground up, where I can see, in a really friendly way, all of the work that I have to do on a daily basis. This is the employee view of ViewPointCloud. I can drill into all the approvals that are happening on a daily basis. I can see who's assigned to what. So really, we're trying, we're not looking at ourselves in comparison to, some of the legacy permitting technology that's been out there in the past. We're saying, can we help a municipality live up to the same standards that are in place in the private sector? But yeah, surely we hope that the impact is that it's the world's best permitting technology, and that's really what we think we've built here.
Very good. Now, I was kind of curious. You talked at the beginning about different styles of rolling out the software and whether you roll it out to the entire city or specific departments. What's been your experience when it comes to rolling out to individual departments? Is there a department that this kind of sits better with as a kind of pilot for a city, or one that maybe is a little more difficult if you were to start with?
Well, what we found is that it's important. You may want to roll out multiple departments simultaneously, and I'll show you. You're seeing here on our storefront homepage that you have so many different departments in ViewPointCloud. The key is that there is a champion in each department who can really lead the process from that department's perspective to make sure that the software meets that department. I think
your screen may have dropped out again.
Oh, sorry. Let me see if I can bring that back. Let me know if you can see it again. No screen?
Nothing yet, but it may just have a bit of a lag.
Let me try and stop it and restart it. Okay. It says another presenter is sharing their screen. Do you know what that's about? But
we have any other.
Okay. Well, I'll just answer the question anyway. It doesn't require a screen. As it relates to implementation, as I've said, and I think as many of the attendees here can appreciate, implementation of an e-permitting software, is a challenge in some cases because there are so many different components. You have to make sure that your internal processes are well documented. You need to make sure you choose the right software. So what's really important, we found, is that you can take a department by department approach. You don't have to, implement the software citywide all at once. And that's one of the great things about our modular architecture. So, what we find is that it's important to have a champion in each department who can really make sure that the software meets the needs of that department. And it's not necessary to go, individual department by individual department. It's really more important to make sure that, again, there's that champion in place for each department, whether that's, in the IT realm or if it's at the department itself. But, having that internal engagement with the software and that internal buy-in definitely goes a long way to make sure that everybody is happy with the software. What we've done in Rhode Island, I think, is really great, where we have started with trade permits, building, electrical, plumbing, gas, mechanical. That's the department where we typically see the most need for increased efficiency, that and business licensing, certainly. But in Rhode Island, what we've done is we've started with one department, trade permitting, building permitting, and we've implemented it in all these different municipalities. So now that we have a template, it's easy to go from town to town and city to city and bring efficiency in that department. We'll then be going into additional functions and functional areas, developing that template and bringing it into each municipality. So at a regional level, it's definitely the best way to go. I think to develop this template and then to bring it region-wide in a really efficient manner. I'm going to try again with my screen. Nope, it's still not letting me. Let me see about that. I don't know.
And what would you say timeline-wise from day the contract has been signed to a full launch of the e-permitting? What would you estimate it would be a good timeline for how long it would take to implement?
It varies from town to town, certainly, but we see that the most variable component is actually sort of the process discovery in terms of how well you're able to vocalize and structure your processes today. The configuration of the software, we have tried to make that as flexible as possible. So we've seen communities go live in as little as 3 weeks. And that's not an exaggeration because the tools that we've built are very user-friendly for you to build your form, to structure your workflow. You can drag and drop your workflow to make sure that it's exactly the way you want. It's really the first tool of its kind that I've ever seen that can accomplish system configuration in such a quick and user-friendly way. In most cases, our implementation team will go in and show the tool to the project personnel on the city side, and they'll immediately take the reins and start playing with the form designer and the workflow designer because they love to try out new things. That's a great thing about it. So we can launch in 3 weeks with a department, like building permitting. But after launch, it's also important that you're able to, do continuous process improvement. If your workflow is fixed, or if you have to have a software programmer to change it, which is the case in some of these legacy technologies, you're not going to be able to continuously improve your processes to meet the changing needs of your department. So with our drag and drop workflow designer, you're able to make changes on the fly and have them reflect instantly on your front end. So that's been a really great way for our community partners to continuously work on their processes, decide, hey, you know what, I don't need this field to be on the form, or they'll change the design of their form. So it's really been a great way for us to encourage that continuous improvement.
That's great. And we have kind of another, in talking about that customization, a good question from Kim at Reno again. When you have a regional system, what is the government structure for this program? Do they all have the exact same thing that the customer sees? A good example, or for instance, if one city has the most volume and complexity and therefore needs the most attention, but other cities are basic, do you have the ability to see differences there? I'm assuming this is kind of a versioning of those permits based on maybe where someone may be coming from in a bigger region.
Yeah, so in terms of the versioning of the forms, when we have a regional partnership, typically there is some regional leadership, but it's also important, again, to have those individual communities participate in the process. And so, in some cases we do have different versions of things. It's absolutely not required for everyone to be on a common template, because what ends up happening in a regional partnership, like what we have in Rhode Island, is that each community actually has their own environment. For example, I'm pulling up North Smithfield, Rhode Island. And so each community has their own environment where they can customize the services that they offer. So they might, what we find is that we provide the template as a starting point. Each municipality might have their nuances that they deal with that they want to work into the form, and that's totally doable. I'll pull up can you see my screen now? I think I was able to reshare it.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So I'll pull up an example of our form designer. So if I jump into Building Inspectional Services, if I pull up a building permit, I can actually edit the form in real time here using our form designer. So I can say, I can drag the project cost field up to the top of the form like this, and I can add a new field that I might need for my processes. So in a regional partnership, we definitely see customization to some extent with each individual case. The benefit really is from that shared procurement, that shared leadership, that ability to communicate within the region and make sure that the system meets everybody's needs really nicely.
One of the things I noticed earlier in your presentation, you talked about the ability to pay with, with a credit card over the program. Do you use a third-party vendor to process those credit cards, or is that something that you integrate with? Do you have a specific list of those vendors, or how does that work?
Yeah, so online payments is one thing where cities are definitely at different stages of readiness for. Some communities have an existing credit card infrastructure. Some communities don't. We think we've really found the best of both worlds with our integration with Stripe. It's a very common e-commerce payment provider, and what we've done is we've built Stripe directly into ViewPoint, almost like ViewPoint Pay. And so it's really an integrated payment processing that happens right within the platform, so that if I go to a payment that's due, I can set up in one button click from the settings, I can connect my bank account to ViewPoint's payment service, and then whenever a applicant pays, that money is being direct deposited on a daily basis into the town's bank account. So you don't have to deal with things like setting up a merchant account or a payment gateway. It's all right here. All you have to do is provide the bank account where you want to receive a direct deposit, and on a daily basis you're getting those permit fees. So here you can see that a citizen can pay right from here. It's a secure PCI compliant payment service, so it removes any regulatory risk from the town. It's really a great user-friendly payment service, and makes it really easy for customers to pay with a credit card. We're also in the next few weeks bringing a new feature by popular demand, which is the ability to pay by e-check. So that's if you want to pay directly from your bank account without a credit card, you can do that as well. And then what you get at the end is really great payment reporting, where you can see all the payments that have been made in the platform. You can also download a ledger report that can integrate right with your financial system. So in some cases you might download this yourself on a daily basis, or in some cases you might have this automatically upload to your finance system. So it's a really comprehensive payment capability.
Excellent. And now with some permits, or at least for the city of Raymore, some of those permits require that builders submit plans. Is there a possibility for a file upload, or how do you get into that kind of review process?
Absolutely, yeah. On any permit, you can absolutely upload attachments. We're seeing a couple that have been attached here. We might have a building plan as a PDF. We might have a picture of the deck that's going to be built that we can open up. This is a secure file upload structure, so the documents are securely stored in the cloud. It's secure links, so they can't be, so it's secure to just the people who have access to view it. But you can always upload and download files. The applicant can actually upload additional files later on, even after they submit. They can't delete files after they submit it. It's a Dropbox, essentially. But they can upload files when they submit. You can decide what files they need to upload when they submit. And then you can manage all the attachments for the permit right here on the permit page. So this is an example of a more complex permitting workflow where you have maybe a dozen or so steps. And you have a couple of files here right above the application form itself.
Excellent. And the one question I always ask any of the kind of our new technology folks as they present, what is the best advice you could give a city or a city manager or a department head if they were implementing this e-permitting system? What's the best advice you could give them as they are trying to convince or getting folks comfortable with some of the new technology or this new technology tool?
I would say two things. One is always to start, from a user's perspective and make sure that, I guess it's really one piece of advice, which is to make sure that you use the right tool for the job. In some cases out there historically, there's been a desire for, one size fits all. But with the proliferation of technology out there, you're going to find better tools to suit your need. And so what you really want to make sure of is that the tools that you're using fit the needs of those users and they're the most user-friendly and the most, most adapted to the functionality that you need. So in some cases, one tool might not fit 100% of your needs. At that point, I wouldn't say, oh, let's look, that you need to find a completely different tool. It may be best to use 2 or 3 different tools to accomplish all the different jobs that you want, and that's totally fine in today's modular technology world.
Excellent. Very good. Any last kind of thoughts you'd like to leave us with, either with e-permitting or kind of what Viewpoint could do for any of the cities moving forward?
Well, I would just say that e-permitting and e-licensing and e-workflow management is I think the most exciting realm of e-government today. There's so many different applications for ViewPointCloud, permitting, licensing, and even beyond. For those municipalities that are looking for some way to manage their workflows, manage their tasks, manage their customer service, this is really, I think, the best practice way to do it. And we can get you up and running in just a few weeks. So I invite them to check out our website, learn more about our solution, and follow us on social media because we're really passionate about e-government efficiency and e-permitting management.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank you. We've come to the end of today's webinar. A huge thank you to Alex for a great presentation and all the information. I think this is a great tool that's only going to get more used by city governments and more importantly, more expected by our residents who do more and more of their work online. I want to thank everyone for participating and sharing your time with ELGL. As a reminder, we have recorded today's webinar and it will be available online soon at elgl.org. Also, you can reference the hashtag ELGLTech on Twitter and review and share your thoughts from today's discussion. Join us each month where we'll be highlighting another tech tool to make your organization more efficient. Next month, we'll be looking at a different piece of technology. Take a look at the calendar at elgl.org for a full list of the different presentations. And with that, I'll end today's webinar. Thank you again all for your support of ELGL.
All right, looks like we're off the air.